relate to black players. Cultured black players. This coach done been in the league since 2005. That's 20 years. And you only coached 3 players that I deem is cultured. It's abundantly clear that you don't want to see Shedeur Sanders win. He's not like Kirk Cousins. He's not like Dylan Gabriel. When he comes in for the first down and he does that, it's not a distraction, bro. You gotta understand that. I don't think Kevin Stefanski understands Shedeur Sanders. I don't think he really wants to understand Shedeur Sanders. Tommy Reese doesn't want to understand Shedeur Sanders. Why?
What's up?
He's a 5th round pick. That's the easy out.
That's the go-to.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready because we are about to get into one of the most shocking, crazy situations in the NFL right now. And believe me when I say that this story has it all. We're talking about betrayal, bad coaching choices, a rookie quarterback playing like a pro, and a defensive superstar who just made history basically telling his head coach that he messed up in the most professional yet hurtful way possible. This kind of drama makes the NFL appointment television, and it's the kind of story that has fans, analysts, and insiders all asking the same question: what in the world is going on in Cleveland? And now, according to breaking news from people who work for the Cleveland Browns, the team's board is having an emergency meeting today, and Kevin Stefanski's job is in danger. Several sources say that the talk isn't about whether Stefanski will be fired, but when the news will be made. This is it, everyone. The moment we've been waiting for weeks is finally here. After what just happened against the Tennessee Titans, when Myles Garrett basically called out his coach, and when Shedeur Sanders played well only to be benched at the most important times, no one should be surprised that we've reached this breaking point. The Cleveland Browns just lost one of the most embarrassing, heartbreaking, and completely devastating games of the season. They lost at home to the team that had only one win. That's right, the Tennessee Titans won by a score of 31-29. Let that sit for a minute. The Browns were 12-point favorites at home against the Titans, who had been losing week after week and were 1-11, looking like they were ready to give up on the season. This should have been an easy win, a get-right game where you work out the kinks, build your confidence, and maybe give your young quarterback some easy plays to help him get better. Instead, it turned into a complete coaching disaster that has now caused a rift so big that a scimitar could drive through it. But this story goes from a disappointing loss to a full-blown crisis in the organization. Myles Garrett is the most important player on this team. He is a defensive end who just became the 8th player in NFL history to get 100 career sacks in just 113 games. A player who is very loyal to the Cleveland Browns. A leader who usually keeps that sacred player-coach bond no matter what happens on the field, just stepped up to the mic and dropped a bombshell that has everyone from ESPN to sports radio to your neighborhood barbershop talking. He didn't only talk about the loss when people asked him. He didn't just say what most coaches say, which is that we need to do better. No, Myles Garrett looked straight into those cameras and told the world that his head coach, Kevin Stefanski, made the wrong call. And he did it in such a planned, careful, and very direct way that you know this wasn't just a reaction to the moment. This was done on purpose. There was a message here. Insiders say that this was the last straw that led to the emergency board meeting that is happening today. Before we talk about what Garrett said and why it's causing such a stir in the league, we need to know what really happened in this game. The context makes everything so much worse, more frustrating, and more likely that the coaching staff is in over their heads. Shedeur Sanders is the name of the Browns' rookie quarterback who is making a name for himself. You know the name. You know, Deion Sanders, the son of Coach Prime, and all the pressure and expectations that come with that legacy. Shedeur went into this game knowing he had to prove himself. He knew that the doubters were watching and that every throw, every choice, and every moment would be looked at closely. And you know what? The kid really went all out. That's 364 yards of passing. Read that again. A rookie quarterback threw for 364 yards in the air. 3 touchdown passes, one of which was a perfect fade route to a receiver named Fannin. This showed the kind of touch, anticipation, and field vision that you don't see from players in their first season. The placement of the ball was precise. The timing was perfect. The level of confidence was through the roof. Shedeur also scored a rushing touchdown from 7 yards out, showing off his speed that many people didn't know he had. This showed that he's not just a pocket passer, but a dual threat who can extend plays and make defenses pay when they think they've got him contained. The kid brought his team back from a 14-point deficit against an opponent that was controlling the clock, dominating time of possession, and almost perfectly carrying out their game plan. Yes, there was an interception. Yes, Shedeur tried to do too much on one play, held the ball for too long, and made something happen that wasn't there. But this is what makes good young quarterbacks stand out from the rest. How do they deal with problems? How do they get over their mistakes? And Shedeur Sanders answered that question with a loud yes, by leading 2 touchdown drives in the 4th quarter. One of them was an amazing 80-yard march down the field in just 7 plays that had everyone in the stadium on their feet. Browns fans thought they were about to see a historic comeback because the momentum had completely shifted in Cleveland's favor. This was a clutch performance. This was a ice in the veins performance. This was a first-year quarterback acting like a 10-year veteran in the most important parts of the game. And then Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, made a choice that people will talk about, criticize, and break down for weeks or even months. A choice that, according to people within the company, was the last straw that led to his downfall and the emergency board meeting today. After Shedeur led the Browns on that amazing touchdown drive that got them within striking distance, they needed a 2-point conversion to tie the game. The new quarterback was on fire. He was in time. He had just made a lot of big throws under pressure. He was very sure of himself. His teammates had faith in him. The crowd was going crazy. This was the time to ride with your guy, trust the player who got you there, and give the ball to your best offensive player so he could make a play. Stefanski did not do that. Instead, he took Shedeur Sanders off the field. He benched his quarterback, who had been amazing all game long at the most important time, and chose to run a wildcat formation. A trick play that went horribly wrong, got almost nothing, failed miserably, and pretty much ended the Browns' chances of tying the game and going into overtime. And insiders who talked to people in the organization after the game said that this choice not only cost the Browns the game, but also Kevin Stefanski's job. But hold on, it gets worse. Stefanski had done this before. After the Browns got their first 4th quarter touchdown to make the score 31-23, they also tried to get 2 more points. Shedeur dropped the snap on that try, which is not great, but not the end of the world. Snap fumbles happen, especially when the backup is trying to do his job in a loud, high-pressure situation after losing the starting center to injury earlier in the game. It's a game of football. Things don't always go as planned. You learn from it, and then you move on. Stefanski didn't just blame it on bad luck and trust Shedeur on the next important conversion attempt. Instead, he decided right then and there that he wasn't going to let his quarterback handle the next 2-point try either. And here's the best part. After the game, reporters asked Stefanski if the fumbled snap was why he didn't use Shedeur on the second 2-point attempt. He quickly said no. So if the fumble wasn't the cause, what was? That's when things got really exciting. Stefanski said, and this is where jaws dropped across the football world, that he had already made up his mind the week before the game that he would go wildcat if they needed 2-point conversions. Let me say that again to make it clear. Kevin Stefanski had already decided that he wouldn't give the ball to his quarterback for 2-point conversions before he saw how Shedeur would play, how the game would go, what momentum would look like, or which players would be hot. That's not changing with the game. That's not coaching in real time. That's sticking to a script no matter what reality shows you. That kind of rigid, unyielding thinking makes teams lose games they should win. And wow, did it ever cost them this one? Multiple sources say that Brown's admission in the post-game press conference was what made the team's owners realize that a change needed to be made right away. Now let's talk about what Myles Garrett said, because this is where everything comes together. He said, where the anger that was building up in the locker room came out the strongest, and where Stefanski couldn't ignore the writing on the wall. When reporters asked Garrett about Shedeur's play and his ability to lead the team back, they were giving them a chance to tie the game if they had made one of those 2-point attempts. There was a lot of subtext in Garrett's answer. He said, I think he did well. I thought he looked good. He stepped up when we needed him to. You can already hear what Garrett has to say. He is making a point that the rookie came through when it mattered most. And by doing that, he's asking the question that everyone watching was yelling at their TVs. If Shedeur was playing so well, looking so good, and coming through when they needed him, then why wasn't he on the field for those 2-point attempts that were so important? But Garrett wasn't done yet. He went on. There will be ups and downs for everyone, especially a rookie, but he went in there and looked calm. He got out of some sacks, broke the pocket, and made some big-time plays. I'm just hoping he keeps getting better and that the clock speeds up a little bit. He looks more and more at ease each week. This isn't just empty praise. This is a superstar who has been around for a long time. A man who has been in this league long enough to know when someone is good. Going out of his way to point out certain traits. Staying calm under pressure to make big throws and extend plays. Getting more comfortable each week. Garrett is describing a quarterback who not only played well, but also has the qualities and path to become a star in the future. And by doing that in the context of questions about those 2-point conversions that didn't work, he's sending a very clear message without directly blaming his coach. Myles Garrett is too smart, too professional, and too much of a leader to go up to a microphone and say, "Coach Stefanski messed up and we lost the game." Veterans of his level don't act that way. But don't get it wrong, that's exactly what he's saying. Just in a way that keeps plausible deniability while making the point clear to anyone who is paying attention. Insiders say that Garrett's comments had a big impact on the organization and made the case for why Stefanski needs to leave even stronger during today's emergency board meeting. When the face of your franchise, a defensive captain, uses his media time to keep saying how well the rookie quarterback is playing and how he should be trusted, that's a not-so-subtle dig at the choice to pull that quarterback in the most important moments. There is no clearer or more telling difference between Garrett's press conference and Stefanski's. Garrett was honest, open, and direct about what went wrong and what needs to change. Stefanski, on the other hand, was defensive, evasive, and used corporate buzzwords that didn't mean anything. When reporters asked him to explain why he made the 2-point decisions and how he came to those conclusions, Stefanski kept saying the same things over and over. "It's my fault. It's all my fault. I make all the calls." That's great, Kevin, that you're willing to say those words, but saying you're responsible without really explaining why you did what you did, or admitting that maybe those decisions were wrong, isn't real accountability. That's leadership that is really just deflection. One reporter asked him directly if the calls for the play were his or those of offensive coordinator Tommy Rees. Stefanski got very angry and snapped back, "I make every call. It's all my fault." He said this a lot during the press conference, as if he were trying to convince himself as much as anyone else. But this is the problem with that way of doing things. Taking responsibility only means something if you really think about it and are willing to learn from your mistakes. Saying, "It's on me," over and over again while not answering real questions about how decisions were made is not being accountable. It's stonewalling. It's the kind of answer that makes players angry, fans angry, and people wonder if the person in charge really knows what went wrong. Sources say that this kind of response made Browns owners realize they needed to act quickly and decisively. The reporters weren't letting him off the hook. They kept asking the right questions, kept digging, and kept pushing for real answers. One reporter asked how soon into the drive Stefanski knew he was going Wildcat for the 2-point attempt. The coach said he had already made up his mind that that's what they do in that situation. Take a moment to think about how ridiculous that is. You see your rookie quarterback having one of the best games of his short career. He's throwing the ball all over the place. He is getting away from the pressure. He's in charge of scoring drives. He's got the hot hand. And your answer is to ignore all of that real-time information because you had already made up your mind days before what play you were going to run. That's not coaching. That's sticking to a meal plan when you're at a buffet. It doesn't make sense. And insiders say that this admission really sealed Stefanski's fate because it showed that his choice wasn't based on how the game was going or how Shedeur was playing. It was based on sticking to a plan that didn't take reality into account. That locker room must be really angry right now. These are professional athletes who put their bodies on the line every week, work very hard in practice, watch film, and do everything they're supposed to do. But they are losing games because of coaching decisions that don't make sense. And now, according to several reports, that anger has reached the owners. Sources say that Jimmy Haslam and the Browns board are meeting today to talk about Stefanski's future. The meeting is not about whether or not to make a change, but about how to handle the transition and who might be available to take over. Myles Garrett talked about how the defense broke down and let the Titans rush for 184 yards, even though they only had one win all season. He said, "The goal is always to win. Get ready as best you can, practice as much as you can, and then hope that you can do what you practiced all week." And we didn't do that. When Garrett was asked what went wrong with the run defense, he was brutally honest and said, "I agree with you. We are not that." If it was one thing in particular, I can't tell you what it was right now. It just wasn't us. That's a leader who takes responsibility. That's a star player owning up to his unit not doing its job without making excuses. But you can still hear the confusion and anger in that admission. The Browns are good at stopping the run. That defensive line has some good players. They've shown all season that they can take control of the point of attack when they're focused. So for them to give up that many rushing yards to a team that has only won one game means that something was wrong, whether it was how they prepared, how they focused, how they planned the game, or how they played. When you put bad defensive plays together with bad offensive coaching choices, you get a loss that shouldn't have happened, and a coaching staff that will pay the ultimate price. The Titans' game plan was pretty simple and smart. Run the ball to keep the clock running and keep it away from Shedeur Sanders. Myles Garrett is one of the most disruptive defensive players in the league. Use chips and quick passes to stop him. Don't give the Browns easy chances to score, and don't turn the ball over. They did 2 out of 3 parts of that plan perfectly. The game of running was successful. They did a good job of keeping Garrett from ruining the game, but they couldn't stop Shedeur. The new quarterback was too skilled, too calm, and too accurate. He picked them apart in the air no matter what Tennessee threw at him. And that's why Stefanski's choice to bench him at the most important times is so bad for his reputation with the team. Sources close to the situation say that Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, has talked to Browns owners about how they are treating his son. The wristband scandal, the players quitting, Joel Bitonio's subtle criticisms, Myles Garrett's direct comments, and now this Tennessee disaster have all come together to make a perfect storm that the Browns board can't ignore. The mistakes made by the special teams only made things worse. A blocked punt put Tennessee in a great position on the field, and their kickoff coverage was so bad that they let the other team return the ball to the 45-yard line to start the game. These are basic mistakes that should never happen in a professional game, especially when you're playing at home against a team with only one win and are heavy favorites. When asked about Bubba Ventrone, the special teams coordinator, Stefanski wouldn't say anything specific. Instead, he gave the same old answer that fans are sick of hearing. We have to play better, we have to coach better. Yes, Kevin, you do need to coach better. And at some point, we need to improve has to become we're making changes, or else the words lose their meaning. And according to breaking news, that time has finally come. The Browns board is meeting today, and several sources say that Stefanski will no longer be in charge by the end of the business day. The injury news coming out of this game is even worse. Ethan Poik, the starting center, probably hurt his Achilles tendon. This would be a huge loss for the offensive line, and he might not be able to play for a long time, maybe even until next season, depending on how bad the injury is. Several players have concussions, which means they are now in the concussion protocol. It's not clear when they will be able to play again. The injuries are adding up. The season is running out of time. And that makes it even more important for the coaches to get the most out of the healthy players who are on the field. Shedeur Sanders is the best, most important, and most game-changing player on the Browns right now, and they're wasting his genius by making stupid choices. And insiders say that's exactly what the Browns board has decided. which is why they called an emergency meeting today. Let's take a moment to really appreciate what Shedeur did in this game, because it was amazing and should be recognized. 364 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 1 rushing touchdown, and the ability to lead the team back from a 14-point deficit. That fade route touchdown to Fannin showed that he has NFL-level touch and anticipation.
The rushing touchdown showed that he can do more than just throw from the pocket. He showed maturity and calmness beyond his years when he led the 80-yard touchdown drive in the fourth quarter, making several clutch throws under pressure.